Hi, and welcome to the Traveling Fool Podcast, the show that talks about travel destinations, the history, culture, and people of those destinations, along with travel tips and news. I'm Bob Bales, and today we're talking about something simple but often overlooked: why every traveler should stop by the Visitors Bureau when they hit a new city. You know those little offices, sometimes called welcome centers or tourism boards? Man, they are gold mines, whether you're road tripping through Texas or landed in some foreign town halfway across the world. I've got 15 reasons, that's right, a bunch of them, for U.S. travelers to make that stop, plus an additional 5 tips if you're traveling abroad. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. So what are we talking about here? Whether it's called a Visitors Bureau, a tourism board, or a CVB, which stands for Convention and Visitors Bureau, it's usually a small office. It could be downtown or at a rest stop or near the airport, run by folks whose job it is to help you figure out what to do at a destination. In the U.S., every decent-sized town has one. A lot of the smaller towns have them as well, and sometimes they may be a county-wide run operation. And overseas, you'll find versions in tourist-friendly cities. They're not there to sell you junk. They're there to make your visit work. I've walked into these places from San Antonio to Salzburg, and every time I've walked out with something useful: a map, a tip, or a heads up about a road closure or something else. Today's focus is mostly on U.S. travel, since most of my listeners are in America and love hitting the road here. But I'll tack on some international pointers at the end because I know some of you are eyeing passports that may want to do some travel internationally. The point is, these bureaus are free, they're local, and they've got answers that your phone can't always give you. Let's start with the 15 reasons for U.S. travelers, and then we'll wrap up with those foreign extras. First up, visitors bureaus have the latest on what's happening in town. You're not just getting a website's outdated calendar. I mean, these folks know what's going on today, tomorrow, and next weekend. Say you go into someplace in North Carolina and they tell you about a bluegrass festival starting on Friday that hasn't even hit Google yet, or a farmer's market popping up on Saturday morning. I've gotten tips about free concerts, live music venues, or some monthly flea market or something that's going on in a lot of different places I've been to, all by just stopping at the Visitors Bureau. What you get out of it is simple. You catch events that turn a regular stop into something special without digging through a bunch of old online posts or trying to look up and see what Google can tell you. Number 2, they've got free maps and guides. I'm talking the physical stuff, paper that you can hold, fold, and mark up. You know, the phone's great until your battery dies or the signal drops, right? I can't tell you the number of times I've stopped by and spoke to the folks at the Visitors Bureau and found out about some historic places nearby that I didn't even know about. They've got brochures too. I mean, hiking trails, historic sites, whatever. You walk in and you walk out with a plan in your hand. No data required. And you know we're going to go through these fairly quick today, so it's not going to be a real long podcast. But number 3, talk to locals that know the place. I mean, they actually know. They live there. These aren't the call center robots. They live there, they work there, and they've seen it change. In Victoria, Texas, I stopped by the Welcome Center and was asking about locally owned places to eat, because I like visiting the small mom and pop, locally owned places in towns that I visit. You know, the ones that have been around for a while and the locals know about. Well, they pointed me to Fossati's Deli, the oldest delicatessen in Texas, opened in 1882 by an Italian immigrant, and it's still owned by the same family today. And I gotta tell you, the food was fantastic. You could ask anything. Is this road construction still a mess? I heard that over here was closed down. Where's a quiet park I can visit? You get real answers from the people who aren't guessing. They live there and they know. Number 4, you find hidden gems. They'll point you to the hidden gems because every city's got spots that the tourists miss. The small museums and quirky statues, a view that nobody talks about. In Bandera, Texas, I was told about the Hill Country State Natural Area. I'm usually not one for going to big parks or bird watching and things like this. It's just not me. But this is a 5,369-acre site that was gifted to the state of Texas by the family that owned the Merrick Bar-O Ranch. The owner stipulated that it be kept far removed and untouched by modern civilization. So when you get there, the roads are not paved. It's an old ranch road going through the ranch. There's the old buildings still on the ranch. It's old Texas, man, with a few old buildings still standing around. There's hiking and horse trails, and streams and fields, and no crowds. And you won't see any asphalt anywhere on that place. And you get to walk away with something unique, not just the same postcard stops that everybody else hits. Number 5, they know about all the discounts and deals. Now, a lot of bureaus have coupons laying around. The 2-for-1 museum tickets or a cheap boat tour, whatever. I've gotten free passes and discounts to attractions and passes to those hop-on, hop-off buses that drive around and hit all the interesting sites. It doesn't sound like much, but it adds up. They might even tell you about free admission days or something like that. You have some cash and you get more out of your budget. Reason number 6, they've got the current safety info. The websites might say a park's open, but the Bureau will tell you if a trail's flooded or a downtown street's a little dicey after dark. I just recently returned from Oconee County, South Carolina. It's up in the far northwest corner of the state. The Visitors Bureau told me about a stretch of highway that was closed because of the recent hurricane that went through there. They said they just hadn't had time to get it repaired yet, or the money hadn't come through. That doesn't surprise me. But I needed to get to a small place in the county. So she directed me to a road that took me there, but I had to go up and over a mountain. It got me to where I needed to get, though, and I'll tell you, it was a nice little ride. Much better than probably being on that highway. But you stay safe and you get to skip all the surprises. Because, like I said, this is the place that knows all that stuff. Reason number 7, they help you dodge the crowds. You ask them when the big attractions are getting slammed, like, hey, man, when is it just a zoo to go visit the Liberty Bell over here? When's the best time to visit the cave, the museum, the park, or some other attraction? And whether it's a place where school kids take field trips or when the tour buses start arriving. In St. Thomas, the U.S. Virgin Islands, they have cruise ships that dock for the day, and the island gets swamped with cruise passengers. Well, the tourism folks know when they're arriving and can tell you the best times to avoid the crowds. They know the patterns. You'll get a lot smoother visit and a lot less elbowing through the lines. Number 8, they'll tip you off to nearby towns or sites. You're in Santa Fe, New Mexico, they might say, well, check out Los Alamos, 40 minutes north, and the old atomic lab stuff. You know, we were talking about Oconee County. They told me about right across the border, 20 miles away in Georgia. They have the Currahee Museum. You know, that's the one from Band of Brothers where these guys went and trained. 3 miles up, 3 miles down, Currahee Hill. Well, Currahee Hill is still there. They've got a great little museum, and they've got the recreations of the barracks and a couple of guard towers and some trucks and stuff. And if you're game, you can do the 3 miles up and 3 miles down. I don't know if I could walk it. My knees are shot. I'm damn sure not going to run it, but if you want to, hey, knock yourself out. But, you know, I did not know it was that close to where I was at. But this way you can stretch your trip a little wider. You find a few of the extras that you may have missed because they have connections with the tourism bureaus in the next town over. They know where all that stuff is at, and they can hook you up. Now we're on to number 9. They'll give you the history and the context, not a lecture, just a quick rundown on what made that place tick. In Wichita, Kansas, I was told about their aviation history and why they are known as the aviation capital of the world. I did not know that before I got there. Why, I don't know, but I didn't. I mean, all the pioneers like Beechcraft, Textron, Cessna, they all were there, and they all made a huge contribution to Wichita and the aviation history. Even up to World War II, when Boeing plant manufactured B-29 aircraft. They have a great aviation museum in Wichita, And they also have one of two fully restored and flying World War II B-29 Superfortress aircraft. A fantastic museum and tour. You walk away understanding why you're there, and you're not just snapping pics for no reason. Number 10, they know what's free. Parks with no entry fee, public concerts, walking tours that don't cost a dime. In Brenham, Texas, I was told about a lot of free things to do in town and nearby. And let's face it, you're going there with a family, you got you and your spouse and a couple of kids. It starts costing a lot of money by the time you start paying for everything, so if you can get free stuff, why not? Now, they told me about the Antique Rose Emporium, which is an operating nursery. You can actually go there and buy stuff, but it's also 8 acres of antique roses and native plants and perennials and herbs and wildflowers. I mean, we're talking about a free botanical garden that you can just wander around. They have the Brenham Fire Museum, which is all kinds of cool stuff and old fire trucks and things. They've got an antique carousel in one of the parks. And nearby, you have Washington on the Brazos, where Texas was declared independence. The Star of Texas Museum is right there, along with Barrington Plantation, which is a living history farm that belonged to Anson Jones, the last president of the Republic of Texas. So you get to enjoy the city without opening your wallet every 5 minutes. There are always a lot of free things to do. If you ask the Tourism Bureau, they can point you in the right direction. Number 11, you get help with logistics. You need a bus schedule. You need parking tips. Well, they've got it. In Savannah, they've got this hop-on, hop-off trolley that runs around town. It's great. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And they told me the best stops to get off to visit the things that I wanted to see. So you save time, you don't get lost, and you figure out all the practical stuff really fast. I'm telling you, if you ever get to Savannah, you got to do that hop-on, hop-off trolley. It takes you to all the best places. And that brings us to number 12. They are the go-to source if you're planning a family reunion. You have a family spread out all over the country and you're planning that once in every 10-year reunion? Well, these folks can help you out. They can tell you the best part of town to book that vacation rental home so you're close to everything. They may be able to get in touch with a restaurant owner that can accommodate your 30-member group or a caterer that's in town. Give you some ideas of places and things to do for your large group. You know, it's the same for conventions. That's why they call them Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's what their job is. But you don't have to be the largest organization to get help. Maybe you belong to some Facebook group for authors or antique collectors or some local group that you have. Heck, even a podcasters group. And you want to have a small 2-day convention and bring people in so they can all meet up and do whatever. Well, the Visitors Bureau can help you with all the logistics. That is what they are there for. Number 13, they'll update you on the weather. Is rain closing a site? Is heat shutting down a trail? They know what's happening today, and they can tell you what roads to avoid during heavy rains or places that are just not good to visit because of the weather. For instance, in parts of Texas, those little lazy rivers and streams, well, man, they turn into raging flash flood areas when we get a heavy rain. And people not used to the area get stranded or worse at some of these low crossing areas. Well, they can hook you up and they can tell you about these places so you're prepped for whatever the sky has in store for you. Number 14, connect with local tours or guides. Not the big bus companies, but the small outfits, the local experts. Man, I've done walking ghost tours in Savannah, a walking tour of Jack the Ripper locations in London, and had guided tours of little-known and out-of-the-way museums where some personal collections may have turned into some kind of huge collecting passion. The small places that tourists just don't know about. You get a deeper dive and tailored to what you're into. Reason number 15, you get to feel the city's vibe firsthand. These folks love their town, and they tell you what makes it special, not just facts. You can learn about the people and events that make the area special. When I visited Brenham, Texas, there was a volunteer with the Tourism Bureau gave me a walking tour around the downtown area, pointed out all the places where historic events had occurred, and told me about the history of the town and the people that built the city. You connect with the place. You're not just checking off boxes. All right, That's 15 tips for the U.S. travelers. Not bad. 15 tips in 15 minutes. We're just smoking right along here. It works anywhere from Maine to Montana, but some of you are heading overseas, and I've been there too. Visitors bureaus exist abroad, often called tourist offices, and they're just as useful, especially for Americans. So here's 5 extra tips for when you're traveling outside the U.S. Number 1, first, they help with the language barriers. You're in Prague and your Czech language skills are zero, which mine were when I was there. Well, the tourist office staff usually speak English, and they can help explain train tickets and schedules and point you to an ATM. They can help you understand how to get around and tell you the best way to navigate those tourist sites. You get past all the confusion and you keep moving without fumbling through everything. Second, they'll clue you in on the local customs. They'll tell you what's polite, what's rude, so you don't stick out like a sore thumb, become that ugly tourist, or worse, offend somebody. In certain churches and temples, you can't wear shorts, or women must have their hair covered with a scarf. There's all kinds of rules and customs that the average tourist just may be unaware of. For instance, in Bali, and this just came out like a couple of weeks ago, they recently made new rules for tourists regarding respecting the local religious and cultural sites. Well, the tourist offices, they can tell you what to do and what not to do so you don't get in trouble and get fined or worse, wind up in jail somewhere. Number 3, you get reliable currency advice. They've got the currency advice that you can trust. When I was in Uzbekistan, the Bureau warned me about shady exchange booths. Saved me from getting ripped off, I tell you. They'll say where to swap the dollars, where you can get your money exchanged, or if cards work better. You don't want to run afoul of the local police exchanging money at an unauthorized place, or worse, just getting ripped off. You keep your money safe, and you spend it smartly. Number 4, they know the visa and entry rules. You're in Prague and someone says, well, you need a stamp to go here. Well, is that true or not? When I was in the Philippines, I found out how to have my stay extended and where to get it done in the least amount of time. In fact, I went to the office they told me to go to. It took me an hour and a half. Other people were saying, oh, man, this is like a 3-day process. Well, you didn't talk to the right people. In Thailand, there are things called visa runs. I did one of those too, and they can give you companies that do this visa run. The company basically picks you up in a van at your hotel, drives you to Cambodia, where you walk across the border for 15 minutes, grab a Coke to drink, maybe look at the trinkets they're trying to sell. Then you walk back over into Thailand, get a brand new visa, and they drive you back to your hotel in the same van that took you there. So they know all these tricks and trades, and they can point you in the right direction. Make sure you don't run afoul of overstaying your entry or something like that. Number 5, they can point you to the emergency resources if you need them. You lose your passport in Rome, well, they'll tell you where the U.S. Embassy is. It happens. People lose passports when they travel. You need a doctor? Well, they've got numbers. Some of these places, well, I'll tell you, in Manila, for example, Manila has a hospital that mainly caters to foreigners. So foreigners feel a little bit more comfortable going to this one, which has more of a Western feel to it than some of the local hospitals. Not to say the local hospitals are bad, they're just a little different maybe. So they can point you to the right direction. They can point you to the hospitals that may speak your language. They can help you get the help you need and get in touch with your country's representatives if you need to. And you're covered if things go sideways. They've got all the resources that you need to get the help you need. So there you go, 15 reasons for U.S. trips and 5 more tips if you're traveling overseas. Visitors bureaus are your first stop, free, local, and packed with info. Check out their website before you go, or call them and get info before your trip, especially if you have questions and you're traveling abroad. Take a few minutes to stop in and have a chat with them when you hit town. Doesn't matter if you're in Omaha or Oslo. They'll set you up with maps, tips, deals, and you get a feel for the place. I've used them everywhere, and they've never let me down. It beats scrolling through a phone in a parking lot somewhere trying to find information. And here's something you can do for them. If you had a good experience at a restaurant or a store or an attraction, tell them about it. If you visited somewhere that's not on their website but you had a great experience, let them know so they can tell other people. They may want to add it to their website, and that way everybody knows about it. If you take photos or make posts on social media about places, tag them as well as the business. That way they know people were there and enjoyed it. On the flip side, if you found info on their website that is out of date or incorrect, let them know that as well so they can fix it. Some of these bureaus run on limited budgets and staff and don't always have a full-time tech person making sure that their thing is perfect. For instance, they might be listing a business that is closed or some information that is out of date. Well, let them know. They'll appreciate knowing it so they can get it fixed. So that's it. If you've got a story about a tourism bureau you visited, hit me up at The Traveling Fool. All you got to do is send me an email at editor@thetravelingfool.com or go on the Facebook page, Traveling Fool, and send me a message. I might include it in a future episode. So that was quick, running about 23 minutes there. So until next time, safe travels.